All right, so this is the Barnacle install on board a Twin Anchors vessel here, houseboat. The Barnacle is mounted behind the main DC and AC electronics panel. We managed to fit it down below where there was enough room for the wires, as you can see there. On the bottom of the Barnacle, there is a green connector. We'll post up a little screenshot of the wiring reference card. But into pin 10, we've connected source 1. So we basically just butt spliced into source 1, ran that wire all the way back into pin 10 on the Barnacle. Pin 11 we tied into source 2, and then pin 12 we tied into source 3. And that was all just stolen from the back of this voltmeter. We did that because we wanted to make sure that whatever voltage you're reading on that voltmeter is what you're reading on the Barnacle. As well, we tied into the white, black, blue on the generator switch, which gets you your generator runtime. Now that generator runtime actually is active low. So it sits high at 12 volts. And then whenever the generator is on, it goes down to 0 volts. So it's inverse of what you would kind of expect, but you're gonna read it with a voltmeter. When it's off, it's gonna read 12 volts, and when it's on, it's gonna read 0. So we ran that into pin 13 on the Barnacle connector. And then we have this black wire that's going up to an external cell antenna. The external cell antenna connects to the base of the Barnacle, where we're gonna have the GPS on the outside and then the cell on the inside. So on the right, when you're looking at it on the bottom, is the GPS, and then on the left is the cellular. When you first power up the Barnacle, you're gonna see a blue light turn on. That blue light's gonna stay on for about half a minute to a minute, and then it will turn off. That's so that it remains in a very low power state. The Barnacle's tucked away behind your panel. So again, that's source 1 into pin 10, source 2 into pin 11, source 3 into pin 12, and then the generator start here, the white, black, blue, is tied into pin 13. All right, so on this particular boat, we did things a little bit differently, where this one had the build switch located at the same panel. And so down here, there's a siren for the high water alarm, and we simply just ganged in to the same input as that high water alarm, which in this case is on a gray wire. And I ended up using a little Y connector that just allowed us to snake in to that signal and connect directly into it here. And then on the Barnacle input, we tied that into pin 8 on that green connector. And that's the bilge input on the Barnacle. This is the Barnacle app with a Twin Anchors houseboat installation. Now we can see here on the map, we can see the location tracks of where this vessel has been. This is a system that was already previously installed. Now, if we click on the small up arrow, we can see all the stats of everything that's available on the Barnacle. Now we can see that digital 1, digital 2, all the way to digital 4 is still enabled, as well as shore power. Now those aren't actually connected on the Twin Anchors installs. So what we're gonna do is go through the settings page and configure the system for a Twin Anchors boat. So if we scroll up to the very top, we can see under the map section that the show location tracks is enabled. You'll want to make sure that that is enabled for any vessel that you're going to be monitoring. This is what draws the red line that identifies where a boat has been. Next is battery 1, which has been connected to source 1 behind the panel, which was shown earlier in the video. We'll want to make sure that monitor and alert are enabled, and then decimal place is set to 1. As well, you can set maximum value to 15 volts and the minimum value to 11.5. This is the alert level that you would receive an alert if the battery goes above 15 volts or below 11.5. Next is the engine start battery that's configured the exact same, as well as battery 3, which is the generator start battery. That's configured the exact same as battery 1 as well. Now battery 4 we have connected to the generator runtime. Now here we need to switch to the ignition sensor type. Now we can turn on monitor. There's no need for alert to be turned on. If that was turned on, you would receive an alert every single time that the generator is turned on, which is unnecessary. The name is generator runtime. You can leave the trigger value at 5. And now you will need to change the high name and low name to be the opposite of what you were seeing before. It needs to be off when it's in the high and on as the low name. And then if you want to reset your engine hours, you simply click there and type in 0. So currently this generator has run for 2.7 hours and we want to have this set on alert on low. Next is the bilge. Now the bilge input is only used on specific vessels that has the bilge switch at the DC panel. And on this particular vessel, we know that the bilge switch was not on the DC panel, so you can turn off monitoring. And then with the bilge switch, you can set so that the high name is pumping if this was one with a bilge pump, and then the low name is idle. And then the bilge on time limit, this is how long you want the bilge to be able to be on before you receive an alert. If the bilge is never supposed to be on, you can have it set to 5 seconds. Short period alert means that in 30 minutes, if the bilge runs more than 3 times, you will get an alert. The long period alert is in a course of 24 hours. If the bilge runs 10 times, doesn't matter how long, it could be for 1 second or 5 seconds or a minute. If it runs 10 times in 24 hours, you will get an alert. Now, all the digital inputs are not connected to the barnacle on the Twin Anchors installs, so you can turn off all the digital inputs. Pitch and heel. So the heel is the side-to-side motion, the left-to-right motion on the boat. It was chosen that they would be turned off. The humidity, if you want to track humidity inside of the vessel, the humidity before getting mold is about 60% relative humidity, and then 10% is where it'd be quite uncomfortable for humidity on board. You probably don't need any decimal places for that. You can always turn on alerts if it gets too humid inside. Impact monitoring. So if your boat is grounded too violently above 1 G, you can receive a notification if alerts are turned on. We're not using the motion sensor. We're not using the pitch angle. You can monitor barometric pressure. Shore power is not being monitored. Temperature, so if it goes above, say, 60 degrees Celsius inside, we might have a problem. Alert turned on, and we can set it to no decimal places there. So once the DC AC panel is closed, you press the calibrate button, and that will allow you to calibrate the the accelerometer on board so that it knows where its home position is. This is what calibrates the impact monitoring and the pitch and heel monitoring. Once you've done all this, you press save, and you've now set up the Barnacle app. If you want to go through the graphs and understand how the batteries have been run and charged, you can go through and scroll through and see all the stats of everything that you've been monitoring on board that boat. This has been a tutorial of the Barnacle app for Twin Anchors. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at ahoy@barnacle.io.